You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
What the hell is that? Oh, it's Scotland the Brave because it's on autoplay. Let's try that again.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg. You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Oh my God. Can't win for losing. Hey everybody, welcome to this special edition of Ask a Gettysburg Guide. Today we are doing our first Ask a Guide in relation to an upcoming Get Out of the Car tour. I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but I didn't think of it now. It was actually my friend Pete. He said, you should do an Ask a Guide based on your upcoming Get Out of the Car tours. And I said, that is brilliant, you magnificent bastard. So thanks to Pete for that. And so we'll be doing this once a month. In addition to our normal 2 Ask a Guides a month, now we will do this from April through October regarding the current or the upcoming tour. And the upcoming tour is going to be on April 17th, right? 17th. Yep. And it is going to be about Greene's Brigade over on Culp's Hill. And here to talk about all of that with us is, of course, Lewis Trott, who has put all these tours together. Hello, Lewis.
Good morning.
Nice to have you back here in the studio to do one of these promo shows as opposed to over the phone.
Always good to be here.
With a bad connection.
I enjoy it. Yeah.
Yes, we always enjoy having you here. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. YouTube especially. Get into YouTube because we're going to start transitioning over there for a lot of stuff. Make sure that you have your notifications turned on. Also, if you use the Apple Podcast app, please leave a 5-star review. Reviews, liking, sharing, subscribing, and of course, telling your friends and enemies are the best ways to help us grow our audience. Okay, so Lewis, let's get on now. This would be one of the tours we would do this year on the Get Out of the Car tour. Perfect timing, too, because they're starting to clear that area.
Yes. I don't know how I came up with this other than the fact that in September of last year, we did Lower Culp's Hill for one of the Get Out of the Car tours.
Yes.
So I look at different parts of the battlefield and I try to cover something on the 3 different days, and obviously something different.
Right.
And I just looked at this. I think for a little preview, on the 3rd day, which doesn't really deal with Greene's Brigade necessarily, but the 66th Ohio comes out on the left of Greene's Brigade, and nobody really ever talks about that.
Right.
And so, as you know, I go out to the field by myself usually on New Year's Eve, and I wander around, and I think that's when it struck me, hey, how many people come out and see where the 66th Ohio
right.
from Candy's Brigade?
Because nobody even really knows that it's there.
No, and like you mentioned before, now that they're clearing away some of the trees, you can really get a better view of that. So that's how I developed this particular tour. And the quote comes from Greene. It's attributed to George Greene. My God, man, if they go out there, y'all go out there, they're going to swallow you up. He's talking to the 66 Ohio, who are going to go forward and actually be perpendicular to Greene's line. So that's sort of how I come up with this particular tour.
So tell us about Culp's Hill, Greensburg. Give us some background on it before we get to the questions.
All right. So on the first day of the battle, July 1st, when the Union Army falls back to Cemetery Hill, eventually they're going to move a portion of their force over to Culp's Hill. It's going to be the 7th Indiana, who's actually from Cutler's Brigade. They don't fight on McPherson's Ridge on the first day of battle, but they show up advantageously for the Union on Culp's Hill. And so when Johnson's reconnaissance is coming out to find out if they can occupy the hill, or men from Ewell's corps, that's who they run into. It's men from the 7th Indiana, and they think, well, there's men up there, and they don't have any idea how many because it's dark, it's wooded.
They just know someone's up there.
Yes. And so the Confederates don't attack and occupy Culp's Hill. That gives the Union an opportunity to do that. When Slocum's 12th Corps moves up, eventually they're going to move up to Culp's Hill. And they're going to extend their line from Wadsworth's division from the 1st Corps from the top of Culp's Hill down towards Spangler's Meadow. And the 12th Corps is going to occupy that line. And they're going to develop breastworks that we'll talk about, and they're going to fortify that position, and they're going to sit there all day on July 2nd. Now, eventually, Longstreet's going to launch his assault over on the Union left. When they do that, everybody gets, nervous Nellies.
All in a tizzy.
Yeah, all in a tizzy. And eventually, Meade's going to order the 12th Corps to go to their left. Gary is going to say, well, we need somebody up here. Meade's going to agree to leave a brigade. That's going to end up being Greene's brigade, and that's how the rest of the 12th Corps is going to be pulled over to the left. They don't all go to the left. Some of them go south down on the Baltimore Pike and just hang out for a while at Rock Creek.
Go shopping at the outlets.
Get a little fishing in. And they're eventually going to come back. And we covered some of that when we did, again, that September tour, where we talked about George Stewart's Confederate Brigade of Marylanders attacking. And we also did... that same tour, Spangler's Meadow.
See, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you got to come out to more than one of them, because sometimes they might be related.
I try to
weave through,
connect some dots.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not exactly linear, but yeah.
You talked about a couple of things that I think you probably won't have time to get into on the tour, so let's get into it now. So you said that the 12th Corps was sent down, but Geary said, well, you ought to leave someone here. So who did Geary say that to?
He's talking to Meade, or one of Meade's
aides.
I can't remember if it's Meade directly or one of his aides.
Who's in charge? Who's in command of the 12th Corps when this order comes down?
Well, that's a problem with the 12th Corps because coming up, Slocum is a wing commander,
right?
And he never relinquishes this, even though you don't need a wing commander once you're set in place,
right?
So Alpheus Williams, one of the division commanders, was elevated to Corps command when Slocum is elevated to wing command. So Williams is actually still in charge of the Corps. And then Geary is one of the other division commanders. And if I remember correctly, and I have to always go back and refresh my memory on this, I think it's Geary talking to Slocum and Meade. But Geary's the one that presses it, saying, we need to keep somebody here,
Right.
And so they agree to leave Greene's brigade. When the rest of the Corps gets pulled off of Culp's Hill, though, Greene is then going to have to extend his line to the right, south, to attempt to occupy the position that had been vacated. And that's going to thin his line tremendously. If it's daylight when all this is happening and the attack happens in daylight, he's in real trouble. For the Union, though, they have darkness on their side. And so when the Confederates are attacking and they're also attacking uphill, they don't exactly know what's in front of them other than it's Union, and they fortify themselves. And they don't exactly know that much of the 12th Corps has been set away. And so that there's an opportunity here that they don't take advantage of it because I don't think they realize the extent of the opportunity.
So when Johnson makes his attack, he's not aware that the 12th Corps or some troops at least have been moved from Culp's Hill?
He might have been aware, but he might not know the extent of it.
Okay.
Because if he knows exactly what's going on, he might place a holding force in front of Greene to keep him in place.
And swoop around.
And sweep the rest around. The other problem with Johnson's attack is one brigade is not there, the Stonewall Brigade, because they've been out skirmishing on East Calvary Field on July 2nd.
Right.
Because the Confederates are worried about getting flanked on their left, and so he only has 3 brigades he's attacking with. He doesn't have the Stonewall Brigade because they're still out in they've been skirmishing all day, and they're not going to relieve them. He tells Walker, is the commander of the Stonewall Brigade at this time. He tells Walker, when you feel it's secure out there, you can come join the attack. Well, Walker, he doesn't want to leave too early,
right,
because he don't want to be responsible for getting flanked. So by the time he gets there on the 2nd, there's nothing, he's not going to be able to help him. And then he does, the Stonewall Brigade takes part in the attack on the 3rd, but by then, the Union army's moved back. So, but if Johnson realizes the opportunity to its fullest extent, he can simply move around to the left, and he can come through Spangler's Meadow, drive towards the Baltimore Pike, and that's the Union supply line, and cut that line, and then go from there.
So you mentioned also breastworks. How did because we're doing this about Greene's Brigade, and so what am I trying to say? What was the role that Greene had in building those breastworks?
Well, Greene is an old engineer. Now he's the oldest general in the Union Army here at Gettysburg. He's 62 years old. He was born in 1801. He graduates West Point in 1823, but he comes out of West Point in the artillery branch. He's an artilleryman.
Okay.
I think he spends 10 or 12 years in the Army, but he never rises above the rank of lieutenant. It's all in the artillery. And so, back in today's Army, you're going to get booted from the Army if you're a lieutenant 12 years in. There's something wrong. But he leaves the Army, and that's where he picks up his engineering career, dealing with railroads and building bridges and stuff like that. That's where he becomes a known engineer. And that's the background that plays into building the breastworks. Now, his brigade had built breastworks at Chancellorsville also. So this wasn't anything new to them. When they get up on Culp's Hill, Wadsworth's division is going to fortify their position. And again, that is on Greene's left.
Which is like the north-ish facing slope.
Yeah.
Between Stevens Knoll and the top of Culp's Hill.
In the area where Slocum's monument is today, looking sort of towards the northeast.
Yeah.
So they start building breastworks, and Greene and some of the other subordinates go to Slocum and they say, Geary, I think it is, they request, should we build breastworks here? And Geary says, we don't want to get in the habit of doing this, because if you build breastworks, your troops aren't going to come out from behind, come out from behind the breastworks and attack. It's going to make them, want to stay behind what they know is secure. But you can if you want. So they go ahead and they spend all day, or at least till about noon or 1 o'clock on July 2nd, building these breastworks. And they extend from up on Culp's Hill, actually from where Wadsworth was, around the top of Culp's Hill, all the way down beneath that saddle in between Upper Culp's Hill and Lower Culp's Hill, down on the eastern side of Lower Culp's Hill also. So there were more breastworks built than just up there with Greene.
Right.
And then when the rest of the 12th Corps leaves that area, that's what Greene is extending his line down towards. He's filling in these other breastworks that have been vacated. Those breastworks are eventually going to be occupied by the Confederates.
Okay.
Stewart's Brigade.
So what happens during the fighting? So the bulk of the 12th Corps goes away.
Yep.
Geary says you ought to leave someone, and they say fine. Greene, because Meade wants the whole entire 12th Corps to be sent to the left, right?
Yes, and Meade's not hanging out over there. He's monitoring what's happening on his left, which is Sickles' Corps is getting destroyed. So they need somebody, and I don't want to say he's in a panic, but he's in a panic. And he's just sending troops over there.
Yeah.
Because he sees this breakthrough that's occurring. And so he sends them over there. Whether they're needed or not, the story tells us probably not, because part of them head straight south. And They don't take part
they
at
don't
all.
even get there. Yeah.
And so the other troops that do get over there, the role they play is
They're
very
not
minimal.
very heavily engaged.
It's very minimal.
Yeah.
So,
but you never know.
Yeah.
So you got to send them. But in the meantime, Greene is sitting there with what, 1,400-ish?
About that.
Yeah, soldiers. And he's got to cover that whole span.
They spread them out. Again, they have the hill working to their advantage. They have darkness working to their advantage. And they just spread out and do the best they can.
Yeah.
So.
And then the Confederates make their attack. It's starting to get dark or dark?
It's getting dark, or just about dark. It's about 7 o'clock.
It's dark in the woods.
Yeah. And there's no daylight savings time back
Right.
then. So whatever ambient light they do have at that point out in a clearing is sort of taken away by the wooded area.
By the woods, yeah.
All the foliage and stuff.
And how does the attack go down?
Coming from the Confederate point of view, it's James Jones' Brigade of Virginians, and then to his left is Nichols' Brigade. It's the 2nd Louisiana Brigade. They are under the command of Jesse Williams. Nichols is not here. He's wounded. He actually lost his foot at Chancellorsville. And so they are going to attack the hill. If you read Union accounts of it, they make like 4 separate attacks going up the hill. To Nichols' left, the Louisiana Brigade's left, would be George Stewart's Marylanders. And those are the ones that are going to move in eventually and occupy the breastworks around the area of Lower Culp's Hill.
Okay.
Eventually, they are going to, it's David Ireland's 137th New York Regiment is going to bend back their right, and they're going to occupy what is known as the Traverse. It's this other line of breastworks that sort of goes perpendicular to the north-south line of breastworks on Upper Culp's Hill, and they're going to occupy that Traverse to keep the Confederates from, once they move in that Lower Culp's Hill area, from turning to the right and just rolling up the Union line. And like I mentioned earlier, eventually these Union troops are going to come back. When they come back, that's going to be Kane's brigade. George Sears is at the top of the hill, extending downward to the right.
George Sears Greene.
George Sears Greene, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's just for the people that don't know.
He's going to be extending his brigade downhill to the right, and it's Kane's brigade, Thomas Kane. I always want to call him Charles Foster Kane. And all the young people don't know what I'm
Citizen.
talking about. Yeah. Kind of an overrated movie, but we'll talk about that another time. But that's Kane's brigade that's supposed to be down there. He's got 3 regiments.
Yeah.
They've been pulled off. So when Kane's brigade comes back, that's when they realize the Confederates are in our breastworks, and they've got to figure out what to do. And that's going to lead to what we talked about in September, that dawn attack before, about 4:30. They're going to open up and drive these men out.
Eventually, Greene will get help with the rest of the Corps coming back. Well, actually, before the Corps comes back,
he's going to get help from
the Second Corps and the First Corps and
Sixth Corps.
Sixth Corps.
That's on the 66th Ohio that I mentioned previously.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm thinking of another question. They're going to come back, but he does get 1 regiment from the 6th Corps. I think it's one of your questions.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we get to the questions. Okay. So he is going to get some help. It's not just Greene's brigade all out there by their lonesome the whole time. But I mean, a lot of the help, like what was the unit from the 2nd Corps that came over that, like, as soon as they got in the field?
71st Pennsylvania.
71st Pennsylvania.
They come over and they spend some time, say, hey, how's it going?
And then the Confederates fire a volley and they go, let's go back to where we came from.
Yeah. It was warmer on the other side of the ridge, and it's kind of cold over here. Let's go. They come over and they don't
really do much.
I don't have any good thing to say about them.
No.
Now, during Pickett's charge, you're doing wonderful work. So.
Yeah, now that's a different story over there. But they just weren't ready yet. That's all.
Yeah,
they called on them a day early.
Yeah,
they were
their
just
place.
Yeah, they're like, nah, we're not feeling this ground. It's like this.
I think they showed up and said, you know what? If we fight over here hard and eventually put a monument up, who's going to come over here and look at it?
Yeah.
Let's go on back and do something bigger and get a better monument. That's what it's about.
Okay, so why don't we? So is that it for the background? Basically, the idea of the tour. Yeah. Okay. Really quick though, I mean, is there anything that we're going to see on this tour that is along the lines of the get out of the car theme? That people may not have seen before because they usually just drive, if they even drive through. I mean, let's face it, not everybody goes to Culp's Hill, Lewis. Not everybody goes. So if they do, they just drive. Right? Because it's just like, well, what am I going to do? There's just woods there. They're not going to get out. But we're requiring that you do that. We will drag you out of your car because it is the name of the tour series, Get Out of the Car. So what interesting things might we see along the way?
I think what's really interesting when you get out and look at the 66th Ohio's position, it's, the Confederates talk about having to come up this mountain.
Yeah.
And if you look, you're in front of the I don't know, 149th Pennsylvania. Look, yeah, it's a hill. It's in the woods. But if you get up there where the 66th Ohio is, that's a steep ledge that falls off there. And that's what Confederates are, trying to come up. So we'll see that. We'll see a couple interesting rocks that show up later on in some Edwin Forbes sketchings and a painting. We'll see some other rocks that they decided at one point to put some advertising on for, what was it?
Liver pills, yeah.
So we'll see that. And we'll just talk about what happened. And like we've talked about, the Park Service is starting to clear out some of that, and it really has made it helpful. At this time of year, too, you're not going to have to deal with all the weeds and stuff that grow up later on. But the amount of trees they've taken out makes it a lot more, feasible to walk down there without feeling like you're, Paul Bunyan traipsing through the woods or something.
Well, and most importantly, you can see. You can see what a better idea of what the ground may have looked like at the time.
Looking both ways, too. It's interesting to walk into those woods and look back, and then you see what the Confederates were looking at.
I mean, I remember last winter, Bob Steenstra and I went walking, and we went in, where that lawn is, around that S curve by the Jones Brigade plaque?
Yep.
We went into the woods in that area and walked along the base of the hill. And it really wasn't until I did that I realized what a hill, what a face that face of the hill is. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like, I mean, without like ladders and grappling hooks, like what are you even going to bother? So like you got to go around it.
Yeah.
You can't assail that.
And there's one Confederate, and I'll have it there out on the tour. I don't have it with me today in the official records, where a Confederate commander, when he's writing up his record, says you need scaling ladders to make this attack.
Yeah. So, wasn't that Jones?
It could have been.
I think it was Jones.
Although Jones gets wounded. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah, sure. We don't give it all away.
No. You got to come out.
Yeah, you got to come out. April 17th, by the way. Okay, so
10 o'clock.
Let's get 10 o'clock in the morning, April 17th. Let's get going here with the questions. These are questions from our patrons who are always there in a pinch when we need them. And we said, we need questions about Greene's Brigade on Culp's Hill. And they sent them in. And once again, don't forget that this episode is brought to you commercial free by Mason-Dixon Distillery. Okay, so here we go. Questions from patreon.com/addressing Gettysburg. With our brand new first lieutenant level, $25, you get video, better video than this stuff that you're getting for free. Here we go. Brian Derenick has the first question. He says, how was the military importance of the position not realized, which in turn could have led to the loss of Culp's Hill, made Cemetery Hill untenable, and a possible Union disaster?
That's a good question.
I know.
We'll have to ask George Meade. I think that, if you're students of the battle, if you recall, on the morning of July 2nd, Meade gets with his commanders, and he's going to try to figure out the feasibility of attacking the Confederates from that area. And Warren goes out there, and Slocum and the division commanders and such, and they look at the ground, and they come back to Meade saying, "You can't. There's offensive operations in this area can't happen. It's not feasible to attack." So maybe in the back of his mind, he's saying, "Well, as long as we have somebody there just to hold on, they're not going to. Maybe perhaps they can't attack us either if we can't attack them from this area because it is so steep and rocky." The other thing I think, and this is all conjecture. We don't know really what Meade was thinking. Or at least I haven't read what he was thinking about this. But I think the violence and just the suddenness of Sickles' line breaking and the threat that posed on the left side of his line, that just occupied
chaos.
Yeah, that occupied Meade's mind so much that he saw his left being rolled up by Longstreet.
The emergency at that time was the left.
Yeah, because...
And you've got to take care of...
Again, Meade rides out to Sickles. He knows there's not troops, contrary to what Sickles is going to say later. They have an occupied little round top with troops. There's a signal station up there.
Yeah.
So he realizes the problems of Sickles' line when this attack is going to start. And so I think that fully engages his mind. He's like, oh, my God, we got to get everybody there. Because if you bust through that line right there,
It's over.
yeah, you're coming back there. You're so close to where all the artillery reserve is and all those supply wagons.
Baltimore
so
Pike.
that occupies it.
Yeah, it's like if you have someone coming in with with 2 bleeding wounds, and one is a superficial flesh wound on the chest, and the other one is the femoral artery, you're going to stop the bleed. Maybe you'll throw something on the chest, but you're going to work on the femoral artery until that's under control.
Yep.
Before you can then go and really take care of the chest. And I think like the femoral artery was Sickles' line.
And
no pun intended, because he lost a leg.
And up to this point, on Culp's Hill, you've had this artillery duel.
Yeah.
That on the Union side, it encompasses East Cemetery Hill also with Latimer's unit over there on Benner's Hill. So that's all you've got going on so far. They haven't attacked yet. So you're just thinking, oh, my God, you got to stop the bleeding over on our left.
Yeah. Going back earlier, though, and stop me where I'm wrong here, because this is just my understanding of the events and everything, okay? July 1st, Howard's in command by the time they're all falling back to Cemetery Hill. Mm-hmm. He's got Confederates coming at him from where he can see, where he just was, the northwest and the north. And he's got to rally his broken corps and the First Corps and somehow solidify the line on Cemetery Hill. And is he the one who extends the First Corps up Stevens Knoll?
I think it's Hancock.
It's okay. So
when
so
Hancock gets here.
So Hancock gets here. He extends that line.
Yeah, he sends troops
and
over
he's
there.
the one that sends the 7th Indiana up onto Culp's Hill to kind of check things out on the other side of it, right?
If I recollect right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not that they didn't recognize or that no one recognized the importance of it. It's just that, again, with the femoral artery thing, Howard has to worry about holding and collecting himself and strengthening his position on Cemetery Hill before he could even think of it, because he doesn't know July 2nd is going to happen. He doesn't know what's going to go on. We look at Culp's Hill today and we go, oh man, like this is the key to everything, or whatever we think. And but he didn't know any of that stuff. He didn't know. He's new to the field. Like, he's only been there for several hours. Like, and most of his attention was not being paid to that area. It was enough to say, leave somebody here.
Yeah.
But he was focusing more on everything that was going on north of town. Right?
Yeah. And
so, I mean, just psychologically, you're not thinking of Culp's Hill at that moment, but it's not until calmer eyes come up in Hancock, and he's able to look and assess it, because sometimes it's easier when you're new to this situation to see really what you got, right?
Yeah.
And then Hancock's one of those guys.
Yeah. And so much is going on. He's and those troops coming out of the town are disorganized and stuff. The Union troops that are falling back, he's just trying to get them together and stop the stampede. And so luckily for the Union cause, somebody does recognize that, hey, we should put some men over here. On the other side of the ledger is the Confederates. If they'd have moved with anybody more expediently and put somebody on Culp's Hill, maybe then you have a different story. And not to get into the Ewell should have attacked Cemetery Hill debate or anything, because that becomes a useless debate.
Yeah.
If and again, he's wore out too. His troops have been fighting all day. But if he could have got somebody up there on that hill a little bit sooner, you've got the troops up there. So when the Union's starting to move over there to Stark, they don't know. It
would be the reverse. Yeah.
So,
Roy Mead, he says, "Hi Matt, Eric, and Lewis. My question is, did Greene's Brigade's veterans ever receive the same type of recognition during their lifetimes that people now give to Chamberlain or the Iron Brigade? Thanks for the great work you do." That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Let's just say no.
No. We do.
Yeah,
because
we do
recognize
now.
it. But, the Iron Brigade got their moniker from some other battle, and they had their distinctive hats.
Got their what?
Moniker.
Moniker?
Moniker. Isn't it Nomiker?
It's a moniker, isn't it? Isn't it moniker? Yeah.
I just pull my tail between my legs and head back to Richmond.
You threw me off. I thought it was some new...
You know, I am a rube. I admit it. I don't know. Some days I'm proud of it. Some days I'm not. But, you know,
you know what it is? It's a pet peeve of mine. I can't... And it's not because... I just can't let... I know people know better. I knew you knew it was moniker, but you just said nomiker. And like I've done that. I've said the wrong word when I knew the right word. And I can't let you go without having corrected you so the audience knows that you know the difference.
He's a big fan of pointing out other people's faults.
Well, and that too.
Yeah. I can handle it. Anywho.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So they got their distinction in a battle prior to Gettysburg.
Right.
And so they bring that with them, and they're known, you know.
Right, Greene's brigade didn't have...
Yeah, the Iron Brigade's known by the Confederates by the time they get here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then in the case of the Chamberlain, well, that's just the regiment, the 20th. That's not Strong Vincent. Nobody runs around talking about Strong Vincent's brigade, although we got a tour coming up later on this season with that. But they just don't. They do great work here. Greene does great work here. They just don't. I don't think they had that pedigree, that history that some of these other brigades do, and that's why we don't. You don't see them.
And then they're also sent west after this battle, and nobody really. It's this army that gets the attention.
They are sent west, and Greene's going to be injured in a battle out west, and he's going to leave the army for a year. I think it's around a year. When he comes back, he's put in sort of nominal positions. So his involvement with that brigade ends after, shortly, a few months after this battle. So it just doesn't have that pedigree that some of these other brigades.
Yeah.
But the people telling this story give Greene's brigade their due.
I feel like for Greene and Culp's Hill in general, and especially the 137th New York, that their day is about to come in the historiography of the Battle of Gettysburg, because in the next couple of years, Little Round Top will be closed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Culp's Hill will be open and cleared. And now we get to hear about... I mean, to me, it's just... the story of Greene's brigade is a little more terrifying to me because, now maybe Chamberlain and Vincent's brigade and all those guys on Little Round Top didn't know this, but I know that there's plenty of help coming their way.
Yep.
And the Confederates have nothing behind them. So if they take Little Round Top, they probably aren't going to be able to hold it for long because the Sixth Corps is coming up, all this stuff.
And what are you going to do with it when you get it? If you get it?
Exactly. Culp's Hill, on the other hand, you got 1,400 men against almost 5,000 Confederates. So close to the Baltimore Pike.
Yep.
I mean,
They hear wagons later that night on the Pike. They think maybe they're retreating.
Yeah.
And they're
you
not.
can see, when you go on certain parts on Culp's Hill, at this time of year, especially, if you look through the trees, you can see cars on the Baltimore Pike. It is very close, dangerously close to leave that unprotected.
Yep. Yeah, I do think he asked about, I think, how veterans perceived it. In some of the official reports about the action, some of the commanders mentioned that Greene's brigade saves the Army of the Potomac here at Gettysburg.
Okay.
So there was some acknowledgement. Again, somebody writes a book later in modern times about the Iron Brigade.
Yeah.
Nolan, I think, who's writing a book about Greene's brigade. And
someone needs to.
Greene is not, he's not of the vein of Chamberlain. Again, Chamberlain had a regiment, not a brigade, but he's sort of a self-promoter.
Well, and
he writes his memoirs and he writes several different things.
He writes a lot.
And then
gives speeches.
Jeff Daniels shows up.
And then Jeff Daniels. It's over there. Once you get Jeff Daniels speaking your words.
Yeah, who wants to play Greene in a movie? Some old guy.
Who would you get to play Greene?
I don't know. All the good ones are dead.
Yeah, exactly. John Reynolds. We got a lot of names from our
What's he doing
generals here.
Thought he was dead.
John Reynolds is alive and kicking.
Welcome back.
He says, when trying to rank the most important performances during the battle by a regiment or brigade, where does the performance of Greene's brigade rank in your opinion?
It's up there.
Yeah.
Based on what we just talked about.
Yeah.
You know, if the Confederates bust that line right there and they keep moving towards the west, they're eventually going to get to the Union supply line, and the Union Army is going to have to do something else. It's going to make their line untenable.
Yeah.
The Union. And so it's right up there. But again, like you said earlier, people might do a drive-by on Culp's Hill.
Yeah.
I know way back when I did my examination, my oral exam, going out on a guide on a tour for a 2-hour tour, you had to include Culp's Hill. Mm-hmm. And so you're just driving, you're talking as best as fast as you can, because it's a timed event. But on a normal 2-hour tour now, you mention Culp's Hill, and you say, hey, this went on over there. But you don't really go over there and investigate it like you do Pickett's Charge.
I mean, I would imagine
Little Round Top.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that if you if you tried to explain even briefly, well, on July 2nd, there was just one brigade, and, the fighting took place at night, and then blah, blah, and then everybody came back, and then the next morning, the fighting resumed, but now everybody's there, and it's just like, that would just, to me, I would think if they're actually like interested and curious, like that would just lead to questions, and you'd end up spending a lot of time there.
When I talk about, especially the July 3rd morning action over there, it's in context of Lee's plan. That disrupts Lee's plan. Lee's original plan for July 3rd is not what we know today as Pickett's Charge.
Right.
It's to resume the attack from both flanks. When the Union Army attacks over there, that disrupts that. So that's the context I talk about it. And that's what we do today. But after this place was established as a National Military Park and people started coming here, that was the place to go, because that's where you could see the battle damage. All these trees shot up. The breastworks were more evident back then. Mm-hmm. And so that's where you went. You could actually see what happened.
Right.
And today we don't have that. Those trees are gone. Remnants of you can see where the breastworks were. But you're right. Hopefully they're going to rehab Little Round Top in the fall, and that's going to last a while. I think that the natural inclination will be to move over to Culp's Hill.
And it's a good opportunity for guides who might want to talk about Culp's Hill, but like you said, you don't have the time in a tour. Well, now you do, because you can't go up Little Round Top.
And I know you've had Charlie Fennell on, and that's his baby.
Yeah.
And I can't disagree with him that's the important spot on the field.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I think Little Round Top is a more romantic hill.
You can see the sunset.
You can see the sunset. It looks cool. It's half bald.
Yeah.
Like me. And it's
the looks cool part or the half bald?
The half bald part.
Okay.
Unfortunately. No, and you have a guy like Chamberlain who really knew how to write.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is it captures the imagination. And, it's this little regiment on the end of this long line of regiments, and it all falls down to them.
Yeah.
But it really didn't fall down. So come on.
Yeah.
But it's a great story.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful sunsets.
I think it's, back to his question, it's very important. The way the field is laid out for modern visitors and all that, it doesn't get the dimension that it probably should. So,
Kate Von D, she asks, when was Greene's brigade relieved? I know that Kane's brigade moved in sometime during the night, followed by Candy. Can you clarify how and when that relief took place? Thanks, guys. Matt, you are handsome. Well, thank you, Katie. That is very nice of you to say.
She didn't mention cool. She just said handsome.
She just said handsome.
That is a good question. As I mentioned earlier, Kane's brigade, Thomas Kane, not Charles, was to the right of Greene. And then Candy's brigade was sort of in the back as a reserve. And so those two brigades get pulled away. And if you ever want to remember the brigades, it's Greene, Candy, Kane. Mm-hmm. I'm sure everybody's already heard that. When they come back, the fighting over there ends probably around 10 o'clock, the last of the Confederate attacks. And once they're pushed back, the Union Army is going to move back in. Kane's brigade is going to come back and realize their trench works have occupied, but they're going to stay towards the right of Greene's brigade. They're just a little bit further back, and there's a rock there that has a monument or a plaque to the 14th Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Probably in that area.
Yeah.
And you'll see the monument to the 111th Pennsylvania. That's part of Kane's brigade. So they're in that area. And they could probably reestablish their line around midnight or so. I'd say between 11 and 12 on the night. When Candy's brigade comes back, they're going to be sort of dispersed. And that's why you see to me, it's like a clump of monuments, especially as you go up the hill before you go up to the top where Greene's monument is. Mm-hmm. Not following the road, but following the terrain, just going straight north. Because you've got the First Maryland Eastern Shores Monument up there. You got the 150th Pennsylvania. But then on the bottom, you have the 147th Pennsylvania Arlo Pardee. That field is named after him. Mm-hmm. And then you have what we're going to talk about, the 66th Ohio. They're part of Candy's brigade. They get sent to the left of Greene's brigade. But that's after midnight. It's probably around 1 o'clock in the morning they're getting back and trying to... They're not sent to all these different places right then, but they're moving back and sort of held in reserve. And then the Maryland Eastern Shore unit is kind of confusing because they're the ones that come in to the right of Greene's line, and they get accused of shooting the backs of some Pennsylvanians, and then they leave. But then their monument's up at the further north along that line. It's right there before the hill really goes up. So their action's a little bit confusing.
But that's Lockwood's brigade?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm getting my brigades mixed up. You are right.
Wait. Oh, I wasn't correcting you. I was asking you.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me make sure. I start throwing out all these.
Because isn't Eastern Shore? That's Lockwood, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But when these units come back, especially Candy's is spread out.
Yeah.
The 5th Ohio down there with the owl on the rock. You see where their position is. You also have the 7th Ohio is on the lower portion of the hill. But as far as the timing, I think Kane gets back first and gets into a position before Candy does. Candy's still held in reserve, and then they sort of get spread out. Okay. You have the 5th Ohio, let's say. Everybody knows where the owl's on the rock on the lower end, and all the way at the top, you got the 66th Ohio. So they don't stay together as a brigade.
So it's basically, that's kind of indicative of what a mess it was when they all came back. It's dark.
And you got Confederates now in the trenches that
down on lower Culp's Hill.
Yeah, or Kane's brigade. So Kane can't go there right now. They're not able to reoccupy that line right now. So they're just waiting for the next day to come, and that's when they drive them out.
All right, let's see. The Great Trinetti, he says, why is Greene's monument up near the observation tower, his left flank, and not in the middle of the line?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't have a specific answer. I think that's a prominent hill, so you put it up there. He's pointing down. That monument was put in dedicated in September of 1907. So Greene is dead by this point. He dies in 1899.
Okay.
He was born in 1801.
Almost made it 100 years. Yeah.
So
good for him.
He used to be, when he comes back into the Army, so when the war breaks out, he's been out of the Army for quite a while. Again, he was an engineer working on railroads and bridges and such. He comes back in. He is going to be the colonel of the 60th New York. So that's his former regiment. Not saying that that's why the monument's there, but it is a prominent spot. And if you come further, as he's facing out into the woods, pointing at the Confederates attacking the line, you come to the right of that. That area is pretty crowded with monuments that were already there when Greene's monument. All those monuments get put in the late 1880s.
Okay.
So it's pretty much monumentalized by that point. And I think it's just the prominence of that hill. The way
I always took it as because it's on the
visually,
top of the hill.
yeah.
He's the guy responsible for really holding that hill.
Yeah.
When it was at the most risk was when he was the only guy there.
Yeah.
Right? Because
I
that's
think
it.
it's more dramatic up there.
And he was the one that was really in favor of the breastworks.
Yep.
And convinced Geary that, okay, let's do that there and have a great time with the breastworks and stuff. We'll have a big party. And then, so, I mean, he's like the hero of Culp's Hill.
Yeah. And it was...
Is he known as that? Are people, can we coin that? Have we ever heard that before in relation to Geary?
You can make it a Dressing Gettysburg original.
Well, let's do that. Not Geary, I'm sorry, Greene. Greene is the hero of Culp's Hill. Thank you.
What's interesting is, to me, he has an all New York brigade. Mm-hmm. He's got the 60th, 78th, 102nd, 149th, 137th New York regiments. He is not a New Yorker. He's from Rhode Island. His brother, he's an old man. His son was a lieutenant on the Monitor.
Okay.
When the Monitor is having its battle with the Merrimack. Mm-hmm. Now, his son is in charge of the aiming the gun and shooting the gun and stuff. And he's a lieutenant. The lieutenant in charge of the Monitor is wounded during the fight, and Greene's son actually takes over.
Huh.
And is before the
So they're
the
a
entire,
family of leaders, the
Yeah,
Greenes.
well, Rhode Island has a lot of mariners.
Yeah.
Is that a good word?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So it makes sense that one of the guys is in the Navy.
Sure.
His daughter is going to marry the son of Hannibal Day, who's also here at Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
His brigade fights down, or division fights down in the
Greene's daughter or Greene's son's daughter?
Greene's daughter
Greene's daughter.
is going to marry the son,
Of
who's also an
Hannibal.
old man.
Yeah.
Hannibal Day's an old man.
Right.
too.
Okay. So their kids would be the same
So,
age-ish or something. Yeah.
So I just, all these little family connections are interesting.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. They're all military families.
Yeah.
They would know each other somehow.
He lost one son in the war. No, I'm sorry. That's Geary. Geary's son was lost later in, I think, 1860.
Geary's another interesting guy.
Yeah, his son was in artillery. Now, real quick before we move on about the monument, if you read about the dedication ceremony, and Sickles is in charge of all that, he's still the commissioner of the New York Monuments Commission, and that's what this Greene's monument has come in under the auspices of that, even though he's from Rhode Island. It says that the monument will be placed on the west side of Slocum Avenue. Obviously, it's on the east side, and it's at the top. Mm-hmm. So where it is now is the original place they picked out, I don't know. I just know when they had these committees and they said, all right, we got this idea, let's do a monument. And they get a guy to sculpt it, and then they get somebody else to form the mold and stuff to get the monument, and then they put it in. Is it where they originally intended? If you just read the minutes of all the meetings they had, it says on the west side of Slocum Avenue. So
maybe it made sense on paper, and then
somebody showed up on the field.
Yeah, and they're like, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Rich Snyder, he says, was it a mistake for General Meade to send troops already positioned at Culp's Hill to rush to the rescue of the Sickles debacle happening over at the Wheatfield and Peach Orchard? Was it a mistake?
Could have been.
Could have been, yeah, but it didn't prove that way, did it?
No, luckily.
Yeah.
If you ask Sickles, it's a monumental, and he writes about it in the within the dedication notes for Greene's monument. Sickles comes here and gives a speech, and that speech is part of the record for his monument. He makes a point of saying, Meade, stupidly, he doesn't use that word, moves everybody off, and it wasn't for Greene staying put, we wouldn't be here talking about.
Well, there you go.
So
even Sickles, broken clock is.
And Sickles isn't the only one that says that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But it could have been a monumental mistake. Thanks.
No pun intended.
No, that's good.
Thank you.
But the way things worked out, and it gives us more stories.
Yeah.
I'm all in favor of events that create stories.
Right.
That's what life's about.
Absolutely. It's all stories. It's called his story.
Yeah.
Not story.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael Lentz says, when Rufus Dawes recounts the actions on July 2nd, he says that when he arrives with the 6th Wisconsin, Greene hands him a card. What is that about? Why is that important? It was a Hallmark card, I thought, right?
It's, yeah. He
Happy to
opened
have
it
you
up,
here.
It had a nice rhyme in it.
Right. Thank you.
Rufus Dawes has never met George Greene. So he's been told to go over here and report to this commander that he doesn't know. You might have heard the name before, but he's never met him. So he doesn't know what he looks like. Presumably he doesn't know what he looks like, but he just doesn't know him. So when he comes over here, it's dark. He runs into a guy. It happens to be General Greene. And General Greene says, "That's me." And he writes his name on the card, and he gives that to Dawes. This is all according to Dawes. Mm-hmm. And it's either to verify that, yeah, you reported to the right person. I can't imagine he's doing it. The other thing Dawes says in that book that he mentions this card, and that's the only place I've ever seen it, he says he doesn't know exactly where to go, and he doesn't know Greene. He's just going to head to the sound of the guns.
Okay.
So if he goes over there and it's really loud because of all this musket firing, maybe Greene writes down, this is me, instead of trying to talk because you can't hear.
Okay.
I'm just guessing here.
Okay.
And that's why he writes it down. Dawes never really explains it. He just says he got this card. George Greene wrote his name on it. I put it in my pocket and took my regiment where Greene directed me to go. So
maybe he thought he wanted an autograph.
He saved it and sold it later on for a lot of money. I made that up.
Mike has another question. Excuse me. How did Greene's men build their breastworks? Sorry. Hit the wrong button.
That's okay.
Hit the wrong button. I'm sorry.
They used whatever rocks were available. They used their canteens to try to dig a little bit and create some dirt. They chopped down trees. Not big trees like you see that are chopped down over there now, but the smaller trees that they could. And they just tried to build up the breastwork in front of them with whatever was available. They also created headlogs, which is you build the breastwork, then there's a gap between the top of the breastwork, and then you put a big log across the top and use that gap to fire through.
So the log protects your head.
Yeah, it's further protection.
Theoretically.
But they're just using whatever materials they can. If you got a pioneer, any pioneer troops nearby, you can borrow their shovels or spades or whatever.
Right.
But they're just, what helps them is they have, they don't know it at the time, but they got all day.
Right.
Again, they've written that they're probably done around noon. That's in several places where it's stated that they finished building the breastworks around noon.
Okay.
But then you got the rest of the time to make adjustments and fortify it even further. That might
because you've got skirmishers out there, so you know that nothing's coming.
Out there, yeah, and nothing really starts until around 4 o'clock when Latimer opens up.
So I guess it would be a good opportunity here to explain to people the difference between breastworks, trenches, earthworks, because I often hear them. I often hear the breastworks referred to by all of those terms, but they're technically only one of them, and that is breastworks.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between all of those things?
So a trench is you're going down. You're digging a hole
into the ground,
and then you're going to stand in the hole, and that's going to protect you. Earthworks is you're digging. You've got a shovel, like the lunettes up there on East Cemetery Hill that you see today.
Yeah.
Somebody's dug into the dirt and created this dirt barrier in front of, in that case, an artillery piece.
The lunettes, for those of you wondering what that is, those are those crescent moon-shaped mounds of dirt in front of some of the cannons on the battlefield. Lunette, small moon in French.
Huh.
Crescent moon.
Wow.
There you go. I learned that in some book.
I only know Spanish, and I know one word.
Oh, I don't know French. I just learned that little piece of trivia.
Vamoose.
Vamoose?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, let's vamoose.
And then breastworks are built above the ground.
No digging.
Well, you're trying to dig as much as you can, but it's usually built when the ground is really problematic for digging. A lot of boulders and rocks. You might not have shovels, and that was the case on Culp's Hill.
Because if you look at Culp's Hill now, you can still see mounds of dirt along the tree line,
Yep.
which is the foundation, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
of these breastworks.
They would try to throw dirt in there too. It makes it a more sturdier structure, but they're not able to dig like to create a trench.
Right.
If they could and they had the time, I'm sure they would have.
Yeah.
Although getting in and out of the trench is problematic in a pinch.
Sure.
But you're using more trees, more rocks, more available stuff from nature than you would, let's say, with definitely a trench, but with the lunette,
Right.
which is strictly just dirt. So.
And then that's it. We covered them all there. Okay. So let's see. We got one question coming in from Facebook. Joe Click. He says, can Lewis talk about the removal of Confederate dead after the war? Wasn't there a big burial trench on Culp's Hill? People love the burial trench. And I hate to break their hearts.
There are Confederates buried everywhere.
Everywhere.
If you look in front of the angle and that field out there going towards Emmitsburg Road, there were a ton of Confederates buried there. In 1871,
You think the swimming pool didn't dig a lot of them up?
they just sort of floated along. In 1871, 1872, that's when some Confederate women's groups got together down south to create and raise money to come up here and get the Confederate dead and remove them, those that hadn't already been removed, down to Richmond's Hollywood Cemetery. We like to think, and I've gotten this from other guides that have been guiding and have a broader knowledge base than I do, and they've been guiding for a lot longer, that probably all the Confederate dead have not been removed. And the place that they probably haven't all been removed from would be Culp's Hill, because it's not farmed. There's, you have East Confederate Avenue going through there, but other than that, there's really not any roads going through there. For the longest, it's just the woods that's growing out of control until now. So there could be a Confederate trench over there somewhere. There were certainly a lot of Confederates buried over there, and you can see it on the map.
The Elliott map?
The Elliott map.
Right behind you there.
If you,
Yeah.
if you get a hold of that and you go out there and walk the field, you can get an estimate of where these burials took place.
Yeah.
And then, depending on what the land looks like. I know there is a dip out there.
Yes.
And but that could have been an old roadbed or something.
Are you talking behind the 1st Maryland or 2nd Maryland?
Well, that's one little area. That wouldn't be I don't think that'd be a trench, but out there in the woods, there is, there's slight slopes on either side. It comes down to this flat ground, and some people have thought maybe this is the trench, but we don't know. It could be an old roadbed.
I would bet an old roadbed.
Yeah, because
I think the trenches, when you actually see them, are less. They're not as impressive as we make them out to be in our minds.
Yeah. Now I've heard somebody knows there is a trench out there. I can't say their name because I can't remember their name because it doesn't deal with my tours. But it's somebody with a lot of knowledge. I think they live around here and they know where one is, but they don't tell people because they don't want everybody coming out there and messing with it.
I know where one
that.
is, and I'll.
You probably got it from this person I can't remember.
No, we found it.
Oh.
And we started digging it up and throwing the bones all over the place and dressing in the uniform.
I get it now, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, we found it, but it's on private property, and I'm not going to say who or but we used the Elliott map and cadaver dogs.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Why wouldn't you use cadaver dogs?
Yeah. We were very lucky in that we just accidentally met these people who were in town with cadaver dogs, and we're like, "Hey, we've been working on this thing."
That happens all the time.
And they're like, "Yeah, let's go."
Yeah, I was out there again New Year's Eve, just wandering in the woods, and I was in the woods.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of rocks out there, and then there's a bunch of land, and
There's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, it's impossible to say.
I personally don't believe that pit behind the 2nd Maryland is actually a burial pit of any kind. I think it's just like a dip in the ground.
It makes a great story.
It does make a great story, and people love to put their little mini Confederate flags there. But I just don't. What do you think, Eric? Are you what do you think that there are? You know what my question is.
Are there identifiable?
No.
Burial
Do you think
trenches?
behind the 2nd Maryland? Do you think that that's actually a trench?
I don't know.
Okay. Jury's still out with Eric.
I know Tim Smith says no,
Yeah.
but I honestly have not taken the Elliott map out and seen if, maybe this lines up. But really, there's no major landmarks on the Elliott map that I could line up with what's out there today.
Yeah.
That's why the Elliott map doesn't really do that much for me, is because they'll make one little tick mark out in the middle of this field, and there's nothing around it, and they don't identify any building, no structures, no terrain features, nothing. It's not a topographical map. So how do you go out and say, okay, this is where this dude was buried 150 years ago? You kind of can't.
And that's the thing, too, with if you look at the southern end of the Elliott map, the southern end of the field, in Rose's Woods, it's something like 900 Confederates are in and out of Rose's Woods. It's so rocky there. How are you getting that many?
Yeah,
and there weren't even that
up.
many dead there.
No, exactly. And when Elliott came and did his map survey,
Right.
he basically doubled up on the number of dead that were around the Rose Farm and Rose's Woods, and he doubled them on the map too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you do the math for the amount of bodies taken to Hollywood Cemetery and the amount of Confederate dead, the math doesn't add up. As in, they didn't take all the bodies.
Yeah, it's almost like 1,000 off.
Yep. So,
well, I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of them got tilled, by farmers and
that's what I'm saying. There could be some over there because unlike, Pickett's Field was used as tank training ground, which we discussed in another Get Out of the Car tour. And it's farmed today. And so that land is used so much that I have to think if there was anything left, it would have risen to the surface already, like the bones did. I think it's 96 when they find human remains out by the railroad cut. Yeah. And you just don't have that type of activity on Culp's Hill. So I think there probably are some Confederates still over there, but where they're at, I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's got to be people.
And I can't, I'm not into going out and looking for them. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody looking for me when I'm dead.
No, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Let me rest in peace.
I like it out there because I knew Confederates in this case walked. They had to have walked where I'm walking. That's the appeal to me.
Okay.
And you go out there in the wintertime, it's all quiet, and you just stand still and listen.
And you can
But
hear
I knew,
the echoes
they're talking.
Johnny Reb.
What are you doing here? Well, I'm from Northern Virginia. Okay, you're safe then. And
not no more. Northern Virginia. I had a friend who's from, and this was 20 years ago in college. He was from North Carolina, and I referred to because I wanted to live in Northern Virginia I thought I did because I have family there, so I've been going there my whole life, and I mentioned whatever we were talking about, and I go, and that's why I moved to the South, and he goes, boy, you ain't in the South.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean? He's like, you're in Northern Virginia. He's like, this ain't the South.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it is to me. I'm from Northern New Jersey. And and now Northern Virginia is like Northern New Jersey because of all the people from Northern New Jersey that moved down there.
They want to get rid of Mosby.
Idiots. They turn it into what they flee. It's so stupid.
My other fallback is I was born in Arlington. Who lived
Texas.
in Arlington? No, Virginia.
Virginia, of course.
There's only one Arlington. I know. Me and Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, that's right. You and Sandy and Robert E. Lee lived in Arlington.
He did for a little bit. He actually didn't spend much time there. He's out west doing whatever. But, I just like it out there. You're walking where, and that's the appeal of this place to me, or any other I get the same feeling at Manassas and at Antietam. You're walking in the same spot where these soldiers walk.
Do you get every time, even here, and I'm here, I go out on the battlefield quite often, and and every time I actually get out of the car and like set foot on it, I get not almost like a queasiness in my legs. And same thing, Manassas, Antietam, any of these other historic places, like I feel like, not that I'm being transported back in time or anything, but I'm on a piece of ground that's a little more significant than what I'm used to walking on.
Because you care about the story and the people.
Yeah, because most people just walk on it and they're like, what are we going to go to dinner?
Yeah. So,
want to try that buffet over there?
But yeah, that's the appeal. Now, again, Culp's Hill has more appeal to that for me because that ground is more undisturbed. You get out on Pickett's Charge Field, that's not the same dirt anymore because they've done so much with it. But still, they're coming across, and that's what they're looking at. They've got basically the same view, and that is the attraction. You're walking where these other people walk in history.
Yeah, where they walked and where
some cases died.
That's the thing. Walked and died. Like as they're walking, someone falls face down dead, and bled out there, and you're walking on it, but like it's like a dust to dust type of thing. Like you're just walking on this ground that's just, and then, I always think like when I'm walking on insignificant ground, we're using air quotes. What happened there that we don't know about? Like before European history, was there some kind of Indian fight or an Indian burial ground or village or, what was going on here before we could. And so it's very interesting to think about. But yeah, that's one of the things that's fun about this. It's one of the things that's fun about our Get Out of the Car tours is you actually get to get out and tread the ground that all these stories took place on. And by the way, you get to meet some pretty neat people, right, Lewis?
That's true. I've met a lot of great people doing this.
I remember when we started this, you said, "Oh, we're going to meet nothing but a-holes," but
Yankees,
dirty Yankees. And you said, "My God, these Yankees aren't as bad as I thought they'd be." And they're good tippers. Let me say, and
bringing them greenbacks.
That's right. But they really do appreciate what you do, and we're excited to do a second season, a second year of these tours. Lewis puts all these tours together, all on his own, on his lonesome. Is what I mean to say.
I will say, I spend a lot of time on them.
Yeah,
it's like I'm in school.
I know. No, and I appreciate you.
I learn things too. Yeah. In the meantime, I will say about this tour. There are some hills involved. I mean, we're not going up a mountain.
Right.
But it's not a flat walk like some of our
Good point.
others.
We'll be going through the woods.
In the woods.
So tick repellent if you're afraid of that stuff. What else? Sunscreen maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know what it'll be like.
It's going to be April.
It's going to be April, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be April,
Yeah.
And then what else? Water. Some water would be nice for me. Death. And then whatever you want. And then that's about it. Hiking shoes or sneakers or something like that. We're not going on like crazy hikes like Lewis said, but it's not paved.
Not a sandals walk.
It's not. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Please. I don't want to see people showing up in flippy flops and sandals. This isn't, biblical times. We can walk. We have closed shoes now. Let's take advantage of that.
Especially if you got ugly toes.
Oh yeah, please leave those ugly toes in there.
I
never understood that. Toes are just toes to me. But anyway, tick spray, water, good shoes, and if you care about sun and sunscreen and all that jazz. I can't think of anything else. Again, these tours are free. We just ask that you go to addressinggettysburg.com/tours and go into the calendar, find April 17th, click on Get Out of the Car Tour, and register. You don't have to pay. Just want to get a little bit of a head count just so we have an idea of how many people are going. It is brought to you by our good friends over at Mason-Dixon Distillery. They are great friends of ours. They want us to be able to bring history to you guys free, and they are sponsoring this and a few other tours during the year as well.
And I will eat lunch there.
And we will go and eat lunch there afterwards, absolutely. All right, I think that's about it. What we'll do is we'll do what we typically do with the Facebook audience is we'll end the show here for the podcast listeners But Facebookers, stick around for a second. We'll chat with you for a little bit, just a little bit, because we have another show to do later, and I have to brush up on the subject matter. But that's about it. Otherwise, thank you all. Facebook, stick around. I'm just going to play a little fife and drum for you, and then I'm going to use the little boys' room, and then we'll be back and we'll just
taking Facebook with you.
Yeah, yeah. I'll show you what the men's room looks like. No, we'll be back in a little bit. So thank you all for listening, and hope to see you out on the tour. Okay. We're back now. So, how are you all doing on Facebook? I hope you're doing well. We were just outside. It's a little chilly here today. We were getting spoiled for a bit. Well, I mean, yeah, what was it? Saturday, I think, it was like 75 degrees.
Yeah.
At one point, I got in my car and it said it was 78. And I was like,
Yeah, I think it hit 80
hello,
down in
baby.
Virginia on Friday.
What was it?
I think it hit 80 down in Virginia on Friday.
I believe it. It was really nice. And then all of a sudden yesterday it was windy and rainy.
Storm came through.
Like a typical March. It felt like March, you know. March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. Except we're at the point where it should be going out. Yeah, we should be lambing it up. But I guess that's what they call the old climate change there or something or whatever. But yeah, so anyway, I'm surprised we have people actually in here because it's a Monday, it's a weekday. Most people, I think, have jobs and lives, unlike us, right? We don't. We are.
I don't have a life. That's for
yes,
sure.
and we are here. Well, Lewis has a job.
Yeah. I got 2 young kids to pay for. The military
so
retirement doesn't quite get it.
Yeah, you do have a life too. Eric has somewhat of a life.
No, that's not true.
Well, you got a family, you got kids and everything. I'm the useless one. If I go, nobody. If I died tomorrow, nobody knows. You know, nobody. The world goes on. You know, it's like, oh, it's a shame Matt's gone.
Are we throwing a pity party?
What are we having
now?
for dinner tonight? No, I'm just saying. You know, it's it just is what it is. And it's wonderful. It's just wonderful. Let's see. Mike Kearns says he's excited for the tour on the 17th. Well, good, Mike. We're excited for you to come and meet you. I don't think we've met you before, Mike. Correct me if I'm wrong, and forgive me if I'm wrong. Let's see. I'm going to go back here because I saw there were comments coming in, but I don't have. I can't be paying attention to them. Eric Koval says blooper reel. I guess that's when I was messing up with the beginning.
Yeah.
Michael Lentz says, I see a Lano map. Indeed. It was nice that Lewis grew some facial hair. You guys kind of match. Okay.
It's called facial winterization kit.
Your face was winterized.
But I'll tell you a sad story. One of my best friends is in the hospital right now for leukemia. And he's a cool guy. He built me a drum kit.
Are you a drummer?
No, not really. But I talk a lot about drummers. I'm a big John Henry Bonham fan.
Okay.
And he's a drummer, though, and we talk a lot of music. So he built me this drum kit. But he got put
With
in
real
hospital.
drums?
Yeah, it's a drum kit.
Wow.
Has Big Louie's Army on the front, on the bass.
Do you play it?
I will one day. I'm living in a small place right now, and
Yeah. You got to have room for a
yeah,
drum
yeah,
kit.
yeah. So this summer I'll be moving, So I'll put it together. But he told me my beard was looking pretty cool. This is about 2 months ago. I said, you know what? I'm not. He just went in the hospital 2 weeks ago. I'm not getting rid of the winterization kit until you come home. So,
There you go. Oh, there you go. Okay.
So, yeah.
So it's like some people will shave their head when their friend has cancer.
That doesn't do me any
It
good.
doesn't
I do
do-
that now.
Right. So you grow a beard until the cancer's beaten. Or
Well,
the
I keep it
leukemia.
growing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I grow it. I've been growing it since I retired from the Army every winter because I run a lot slow, but I still run, and it actually keeps your face a little warm.
Oh, yeah. No, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And I didn't notice how much hair keeps your head warm until I started losing it. So, yeah, it's terrible. But Dina Allende, she says, Lewis has a new look. I like it.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. When women tell me that,
yes.
I'm all on board with that.
Joe Click says, how am I supposed to get any work done when you guys are doing this so early in the morning? Well, good. I'm glad we're a distraction. Dina says, same, in reply to him. Joe says to her, hi, Dina, good morning. And she says, hi, Joe. And then he goes, where are you
Oh, my
from,
God.
honey? Oh, Joe.
Are we really going to read the whole conversation?
Joe, where are you from, honey? This isn't a dating site.
God.
And then Dina comes in. Dear Eric, the producer, you've got some fancy camera moves there.
Oh, yeah.
These are getting better and better with each one. Thank
Look at
you,
me go.
Dina.
Look at me go.
And we've been having such computer problems for the last couple of weeks. Everybody, it's a wonder that we're able to do this because both Eric and I think at various points in the last 2 weeks wanted to take a sledgehammer to the computer.
Yeah, pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric was throwing his hat around the room. Like it was
I get very animated when I'm angry.
very serious. He's talking about smothering monkey babies, which was like, yeah, chimps, little baby chimps. You remember you were saying? Let's see.
Oh, my God.
Joe Click says, y'all still freezing up there in PA? It's been warm and sunny here in Kentucky. Well, it sounds like I need to move to Kentucky then because I'm over the cold. I'm ready for the warm and sunny. We've had sun. We've had some sun, but
Kentucky rain keeps coming down.
Joe Click's been okay, so he answered him there. Joe also says, if there is time, okay, we got his question in there about the trench.
We did.
I'm just going through. Let's see. Jeff Bridges would be a great General Greene. Looks wise, it kind of could pass. Maybe he loses a little weight and he can get the mustache going kind of weird like that.
Yeah.
He might be able to do that. Rain Kaiser says, bah humbug.
Ryan. It's Ryan. It's pronounced Ryan.
Well,
Aren't you Irish,
oh yeah, but
theoretically?
theoretically,
Yeah.
I don't really.
I mean, it's
Mispronouncing his nomiker.
one of your people's names, I believe.
Ryan. Look, there are ways to spell names and there are ways to not spell names. And you can't expect people to know when they don't. I mean, wow, who would know? Okay, I could see how that is Ryan now. Okay, all right. Ryan, is it Kaiser or Kaiser?
That's Kaiser. That's a German.
Is it Kaiser? Because R-A-I is Rye. Oh, Kai. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah,
Wilhelm thing.
Oh,
He
there we
says,
go.
bah humbug. The Auto Tour app we followed in 2019 said Culp's Hill is optional. We went there. I'm sure the app will be updated now the hill is being spiffed up. I don't know what app that is. Do you know what he's talking about? No. I don't know.
There's many apps.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of apps, but yeah. It's not. It's optional, but it really shouldn't be optional. And here's something that let me just say this right now. There's one app that you should be getting. It's called Gettysburg, A Nation Divided. If you do get it, use promo code GBERG1863. And the only reason I say that you should get that is because it's a virtual, it's what do they call it? Augmented reality. So if you stand on a point of the battlefield and you hold your camera out and everything, like you will see what it looked like in 1863, and you will see flags like denoting where different units were, and it literally puts you in the middle of the battle. Other than that, but you get that app not as your teacher, but as a tool or as a teaching aid.
As a supplement.
As a supplement, that's what I was looking for. While you are on a tour with a licensed battlefield guide. And I really, I have to say, I was talking to somebody the other day, Lewis. I forget who it was, but we were talking yesterday. I was talking to Charlie Fennell, and no, it was Saturday, and I was talking to Charlie Fennell, and I was talking about how, I deal with people through the tourist season every day, and I have come to the conclusion that people don't even know that there is such a thing as a licensed battlefield guide. The concept of it to them is foreign, and they often confuse it with rangers. And when I say to them, no, they're guides that you hire, and I say that they take this test, they get this license, it's easier to get into the CIA than it is to get this license. So these guys know their stuff. You gotta hire them, because you're not seeing Gettysburg if you don't hire a guide. That's what I always tell people this. You have to have a guide. They come up to me with the park map, and I laugh in their face. I laugh, Lewis. I say, and did the guide give you that after the tour? And they said, what's a guide? And so I've determined that it's my duty, our duty here at Addressing Gettysburg, to get the word out that there's such a thing as a guide force, and explain what the guide force is and what guides do, and get people. I have to drill it in my audience's head that you are not seeing the battlefield unless you have a guide. And this isn't some like, I don't get a kickback just by, we don't get paid to advertise the guides. It's truly something I believe in. And I've done it myself. I've gone on tours with guides. I've seen the difference between a tourist who comes here thinking, well, we'll just get a map and do it ourselves, and a tourist who's come here to take a tour with a guide. I've gone on tours with them through Gettysburg, and I've seen them from the beginning. They arrive and they're just like, ho hum, we're just going on some kind of touristy thing. And then they come back and they're like converts to the whole Gettysburg religion, And it's because of the guide.
Ho hum?
They actually do say ho hum. Yeah, I go, oh, you all excited about your bike tour today? And they're like, ho hum.
Oh man.
Yeah. And so I think it's a shame, but it's good that you get an app. And I know some people, they're like, well, we're just passing through, so we only had about an hour. Okay, whatever. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people who are spending at least a day here. By the way, Gettysburg is not a day trip jaunt up from D.C. or out from Lancaster or something like that. Gettysburg is the destination, and we have 10 roads that jut out from, well, more than 10 now, I think, that jut out from town that will take you to actual day trips. Like D.C., save your money. Why the hell do you want to stay in D.C. more than one day? And by one day, I mean 5 hours. Why do you want to spend more than 5 hours in that?
And get a ticket because you parked in the wrong spot.
And get a ticket.
Yeah.
Gettysburg's parking is awful, too. so we've got to work on that one, yeah. But the ticket's more expensive in D.C.
They learned that from D.C.
Yeah. But I had a woman call me once at Gettysburg, and she booked a bike tour, and she goes, now I have another question. We're going to Lancaster. Do you have any recommendations on where to stay? And I said, yeah, Gettysburg. And she's like, okay. And I said, no, seriously. I said, go look on a map and look at Gettysburg. You see all these roads coming in and out of it, and look at Lancaster. And I go, and by the way, Lancaster sucks. Like, I don't know what. Okay, what's there?
The Amish.
The Amish.
Oh.
The Amish.
Scrapple.
That's a day trip. That's a day trip out from Gettysburg. You go and you see the Amish. And if you've seen Kingpin, you've seen the Amish. So she's like, okay. And I said, Gettysburg, you got a hotel in town. You can walk to all your needs. And so she looked into it, and then a month or two, I forget how long it was when they were actually here, but they came to take the tour, and she said, I took your advice, and we got a hotel in Gettysburg instead, and you're absolutely right. It's so much better. My son loves it. We can walk everywhere. We took a ghost tour last night, and then I lectured them about that. and then, and it was great. So, yeah, that's people stop treating Gettysburg like it's just a rest stop along the way. This is the destination. You have to come here and then you jump out to these other places. That's just what I had to say.
Chamber
about
of Commerce should pay you.
You know, everybody should just stop paying the Chamber of Commerce and all these other institutions and just throw money into us, because we want to actually get the word out there and not like
you.
We're doing this for free. Like, believe me. Let's see. So happy that the Park Service cleaned out the woods to get to the monuments that were hiding around Culp's Hill below the tower. Okay. Not sure how many people realized there were two back there. Yeah, they got...
what is that, the 66th New York? Or
Ohio.
something like that?
66 Ohio.
Yeah.
There's the plaque for the Company
Yeah.
I at the 60th New York. You got to
Yeah.
wander down the slope, too.
I'm thinking about like when you park up at the top, like straight out.
Yeah, that's the 66th Ohio, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was New York.
Yeah, there is a park.
There's another one down there too, though,
right
isn't
down
there?
there.
Well, according to... Let's see. Let's look at the regiments and how they're lined up here. The 66th Ohio has not come in yet at this point here.
Actually.
Oh, no. So you got the 60th New York. But that's not the one you're talking about,
There we
Eric.
go. I'll get you there.
And now's the part where we listen to Matt
There you
flip
go.
pages.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Thank you.
look at that, the internet.
Oh, yeah. I could have just gone on the laptop in front of me. Yeah, 66th Ohio.
Yeah, weird.
I don't know why I had to go thumbing through a book. I like the sound of turning pages. What can I say?
Yeah, give that back.
Okay. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that was Estella Beard that said that. Joe Click says, me too, Estella. I wasn't even going to visit Culp's Hill when I go because you can't see much, but now I'm excited to visit Culp's Hill. You know, Joe, you say because you can't see much and everything. There was always trails in the woods that you could walk through and see these different things.
They're very narrow.
Yeah.
Were narrow.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're overgrown with these briars. I don't know what you call the mess.
Like bushes and stuff.
Weeds with thorns on them that you got to push through.
Pucker brush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Watch your mouth.
but it's a lot easier right now.
It must have been a horrible job to remove them years later, talking about the bodies.
What's even horribler, is that a word?
It is now.
I read, not to get into the woods, figuratively speaking,
into the
on
weeds.
the topic, that there was vandalism at Hollywood Cemetery. I want to say within the last month and a half.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, that breaks my heart.
What was it?
I think somebody went in there and just spray painted stuff, like maybe Pickett's memorial thing, which is rather large.
Yeah. Nothing, no better way to prove that you're better than someone by being worse than someone.
Yeah.
Or at least as bad.
And what gets me is they don't ever, I don't know if they pursue these people, but nothing ever happens.
No, of course not. Let's see. Joe Hardy's looking forward to visiting. Y'all laugh at our accents, but the ladies love it. Joe Click, I don't laugh at your accent. I wish I had an accent like that, and because you're right, the ladies love it. Girls don't love the non-regional diction that I have. I mean, they're like, you sound boring. Where are you from? And I'm like, New Jersey. They're like, well, you don't sound like you're from New Jersey. Where do you live now? Pennsylvania. Well, you don't sound like you're from Pennsylvania. I'm like, well, shut up.
Wait, how do people from Pennsylvania sound?
Like you.
Like me?
Yeah.
I have an accent?
Oh my God, it's huge,
Really?
huge. Everybody always says it's hard to understand Eric's accent. This is what they say.
I'm
to
sure
me.
they say that,
These are the
yeah.
emails that I get from people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No. Well, you got. It depends on where you're from.
Well, I get Pittsburgh.
Like Scranton has an accent. Pittsburgh
Philly does, but Philly's an extension of New Jersey. Pittsburgh does, but Pittsburgh's like its own little world.
That's where my buddy's
right.
from that I'm growing the beard for.
Okay.
Pittsburgh. Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
he taught me yins.
Oh yeah, Yins.
Yins is going on
Yeah,
here?
absolutely.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And this area has a weird accent, which is kind of a mix of a southern accent and Pittsburgh and Philly. It's like all of these places, I guess because of the road system again, but all these accents come here and they
I always
create
felt like
this
it was
one weird one.
I always felt like it was more akin to like Baltimore.
Balmer, it is.
Like
it's
a Baltimore accent
Yeah.
that's been corrupted
Dundalk.
because it's.
right. Going down in
here.
Washington, hun.
Yeah, I'll tell you what freaks me out.
Got
is
some clean water.
You know where I live.
I know where
Right.
you live. I know where you live.
Don't worry about that. I know where you live. Worry about that.
I know where you
You and
live.
your shaky windows.
Yes. Yes.
Where I live, for some insane reason, people in that part of the county have like a weird Southern accent.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Like you're from here.
It's-
Like you're from Adams County, Pennsylvania.
No,
But you
but
kinda have, like-
Southern accent envy. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
thing.
kinda. It's like,
no, you think they're putting it on?
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's like the accent in the Valley.
Valley
Like,
Girls.
There's like different Southern accents,
Oh.
right? So the accent that people
Shenandoah.
have like in the Valley,
Yeah. Yes.
it's kind of like
South.
that here.
South. How do they say? They say South funny.
That's
South. Or is that-
that's the movie. That's that
What
god
movie?
awful movie.
What
Gods
movie?
and Generals.
Oh, is that? Do they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, no, we'll have to watch
I slept through it once.
clips of that nonsense.
You haven't had insomnia since then. So I have to give it another try. I lived most of my life down in North Carolina, so
Yeah.
I lived down there.
See, I think the reason why the people sound like they're from the South here is it's the same reason why Wesley Culp and all those guys were able to go and fight for the Confederacy. We're very close to
Yeah.
Virginia. We're very close to the South. So it goes both ways. People from there come up here. People from here go down there. There's actually a sect of people in Shepherdstown, West Virginia that sound like they're from Pennsylvania because of the Culp. No, I totally made that up.
It sounded very anthropological,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's total BS.
Oh, it was his favorite subject.
What, anthropology?
Anthropology.
BS.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had to take an anthropology class one time. I didn't get
I
credit
did too,
for it. I
yeah.
had to take it for my ex-wife because she was incapable of it. So, so I
She
got
was
to learn
incapable of anthropology or taking the class?
like taking the like it didn't compute for her. So
so you like did the homework?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
she ended up flunking, so she gave you
No, she passed.
She passed, and still you got divorced.
Oh, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
It was probably because I had to take that anthropology class. It was awful.
exactly.
I hated that. You had to learn about like there was this South Pacific island culture where they use pigs as like currency. So like you could be in a whole lot of pig debt to somebody else.
Pig debt.
Yeah, and it's not like you owe him one or two. Like you owe him a couple hundred pigs. Like your dowry, right? So if my daughter was getting married to somebody in another village, my dowry would be nothing but pigs. So like you have to plan out a wedding like a couple of years in advance because you have to raise all of these pigs to give to. Yeah, it was a trip, man.
Well, the Indians used to, Native Americans used to, trade ponies and stuff. That was your sign of wealth, was how
Sure.
many ponies you had. So I guess it's not that weird. What was that country? Do you remember? Was it Palau?
I have no idea. This was many years ago now.
Okay. Yeah. I had to take an anthropology class once. I thought it was very interesting. I still got an F, but I still thought it was interesting. Let's see. Joe Hardy. That's why I keep coming back to Gettysburg. I get calming feeling when sitting there or walking there. Especially love it at dusk. Oh, yeah. Dusk is, yeah. I mean, early in the day, early morning, like sunrise and sunset are the most beautiful times of day. Anywhere, but especially here. I rarely ever see the sunrise. Although I'm trying to get into that habit.
Are you?
I'm trying to. Like, my alarm is set for 6:30.
He's waiting on the government to change the time to where the sun comes up at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. That'd be great. That'd be great. I mean, I've been going to bed earlier. I'm trying to get into the swing of things for the season, but it's tough with this allergy medicine because it just puts me in a coma, which I don't mind
I take
that.
a bunch of melatonin to be able to go to sleep at night. So
Yeah.
like
I was taking melatonin for a while, but then I realized I really don't need it. I'm just doing it because I'm too lazy to actually fall asleep. So I was just doing it to pass out, and that's no way to be.
You couldn't find your copy of Gods and Shadows.
No. God. Joe Click says, great show, guys. Glad to have caught it live. Thank you, Joe. All right, let's see. So let's see here. Priorities, Matt. This takes priority, LOL. Okay, good. He's talking about this over work. I appreciate that. Always come during early spring and late fall to get much better view of these areas. Yeah, that's time to come when you can. And Joe Hardy says, had some tours with Randy Drace, seen many places on the battlefield that I would have never known were there. Have a great piece. Have a piece of one of the Gettysburg railroad ties he gave me. I might not want to share that. By the way, I'm from Southwest Pennsylvania, and I have a Southern accent, I'm told. Well, there you go. See? Because I think it's because you're close to West Virginia out there, right?
yeah, you are.
Yeah. So, it spreads. Borders are we're on the border, and border culture is weird.
Oh yeah, no, we've got a huge border culture here. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, you get a little bit of Maryland. There's a crab. People love crabs here.
crabs.
A lot of places have crab on the menu, but crab isn't indigenous to this area.
It's
you have
not?
to no,
Oh
because
my
it's
God.
you got to go to the ocean or to the bay and get it.
I didn't realize. I thought I could
Goes to
go.
Ireland and
I don't know. It's a goofy boy.
I thought I could go crabbing in Rock Creek.
That would be great if you could. Just maybe a little crawfish or
wouldn't.
something.
Crabs are awful.
Oh my God.
oh, they're the best.
Oh,
guys.
they're
The
disgusting.
spider of the
That's
sea.
crap.
Exactly.
If
They
I
are the
ever get put
spider
on
of the
death
sea.
row, it'll be falsely, by the way. And I get to my last meal, scrapple. I want a pound of scrapple and crabs. Like crabs that I
Together?
Yeah, I'll eat them together.
Well, because it's your last meal, so you're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
have to.
yeah.
Yeah, what the hell does it matter, right?
Stomach problems are irrelevant at
Yeah,
that point.
You're not
Hey, you
gonna-
hope you do, so that when they zap you,
You're not
you
going to
could-
get to use the leftovers.
what?
You're not going to get to use the leftovers.
No, just leave it for the guards
Yeah, absolutely.
in the electric chair.
Yeah.
Because you've just.
I don't have to worry about that in Virginia, though. We
No,
got rid of
I
the
don't.
Death penalty.
No, they don't do that.
Well, as of last week.
Oh, they got rid of the death penalty in
Yeah.
Virginia. Oh wow.
I don't do seafood. Like just as a
Are you still
general
on the
rule.
seafood? We've moved on to the death penalty, Eric.
Well, I mean, it was. Oh, he just said it's over.
No need to talk
over?
about it anymore.
The death penalty.
Oh,
Thanks to the
Yeah.
governor.
well, good. I'm glad.
I mean, we could always circle back around to my irrational dislike for primates, but
Yeah, Eric was telling me he really doesn't
I
like
don't
monkeys.
like. No, they weird me out.
Just last week, I was trying to convince my two little girls that are 10 years old, getting ready to turn 11 next week, that Mighty Joe Young was a real giant gorilla, and there were parts of Africa that had never been seen before, so the movie crew went in there and filmed it. And that's how we have the movie Mighty Joe Young. They didn't buy it. And, Daddy, it's a stuffed animal. It ain't stuffed. Look at it throwing the lion around. What's throwing a stuffed lion? And the lion hits the ground and jumps up and runs away. It's like, stuffed animals don't do that. It's real. I'm telling you. It was a long time ago, but they found Mighty Joe Young in the jungle.
I just have this irrational dislike for monkeys. Like I don't know what it's about.
Yeah, I don't.
The
get
gorillas
that.
don't bother me.
No, you said gorillas do too.
No, not really.
Just the chimps and below.
Yeah, no, well,
like the ones you
that-
can hold.
How about
Like-
spider monkeys? What are you
Oh, no,
feeling?
I don't
Oh,
like
no.
spiders. I don't like-
Yeah, I don't like spiders either. Like I'm definitely afraid of spiders, but monkeys just weird me out.
Yeah. No spiders, no
all
monkeys,
have our
no
thing,
spider
you know?
monkeys.
I don't like communists, so
Hey,
We all
that's
hate
fair.
something.
Yeah, absolutely.
That put them right up there with spiders.
and monkeys.
Yeah.
And you combine the two, it's doubly worse.
What I don't like about monkeys is like how people, like Michael Jackson and Bubbles, like that's weird.
I don't think
Bubbles was a chimp, but same thing.
I don't think people should own any of those types. Like the people that have tigers or cheetahs, whatever.
Like
Oh
Tiger
yeah,
King.
no.
They shouldn't. you shouldn't be allowed to own any of that. It's unfair to that animal. There's no way you can take care of it properly.
No.
Tiger King just came back up on my Netflix.
Mine too.
Watch again.
Yeah.
I've never watched that, and I never will. But
why
it's
not?
a trip, man.
No, you need to watch it. Why wouldn't you watch it?
I don't know. I just heard enough about it, and I saw the guy just
Oh, it's
Freak
you
show.
have to.
Have you ever watched Jerry Springer?
a long time ago when he was new.
Did you enjoy it?
I don't know.
Oh, all right.
It wasn't something I'd come back to.
Fair enough.
So,
I highly recommend that you watch Tiger King.
We'll see.
It's such a
Because
ridiculous
it
show.
just, if anything, Lewis, it just makes you feel better about your own life. You know, like I looked at him and I said,
I'm not feeling bad about my life.
no, you don't even need to be. No, that's what I'm saying though. Like it just puts, it just, I guess you don't need to be feeling bad about your own life. It just makes you thankful for how good your life is, I guess is a way. Because these people are all a mess. Every single one of them is a mess. And you can tell they're all tortured and really just.
I am always looking for something to watch. I just finished The Stairwell.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, and I
The
remember
Staircase.
Staircase. I
Yeah.
remember all that because I lived down in North Carolina while all this is going on.
Yeah.
And I said, well, hell, this other lady. Back then, I thought the other lady was his wife also. He's had two wives, end up at the bottom of the stairs dead. Of course he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched the show. I realized, well, that wasn't his wife. It's just some other lady. Maybe she had some problems.
The one back in Germany?
Yeah. See, I knew all about that back then. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it's, it's hard with I love to watch these, like true crime
I do
things
too.
like Dateline or
It's my,
something like that. Only if Keith Morrison. Yeah. I only like the ones that he does.
And you didn't
'Cause the way-
suspect anything.
Yeah. That pesky DNA.
Jumped up out of nowhere.
But it's like a campfire story
Yeah,
with him,
yeah.
And like everything is just, it's like poetry.
yeah, he's
You know?
good.
Back on a rural road where people go to find their little slice of heaven. Mary Jones and her husband Mark set in for retirement
I don't even know what you're talking about.
He's doing a good one.
Until-
he's-
one fateful night when their new neighbors appeared at a time when they shouldn't have, while Mary and Joe were sleeping.
Oh my God.
he sounds just like him.
Yeah, I love
Dateline
Keith
guy.
Morrison. You got to watch Dateline. Keith Morrison. He's just a great storyteller, and he's just got this great voice. I mean, he's like everybody loves Bill Hader loves him. Bill Hader, the comedian.
He's and he's got this old chiseled looking face.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's been around the block.
Oh yeah, like this leathery
Yeah.
face and this like stark white hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's funny.
Oh no, he's great. But then there was that DNA. That pesky DNA.
I see you spent a lot of time practicing
The
this.
Cook County prosecutor couldn't deny it anymore.
Yeah, I watched that.
I don't
2020 and 48 hours.
48 hours, yeah. Yeah, but they don't have Keith Morrison.
No.
I mean,
there's only one Keith Morrison.
Yeah, and he's the best. He is absolutely the best. All right, well, we've worn out. I guess nobody has commented anything. We probably don't have any viewers anyway at this
There's
point.
like 6, but it's
Oh,
probably
still 6?
background noise for them.
Okay. Well, we're going
They
to.
enjoyed Keith Morrison.
Yeah. We're going to get going, and we'll talk to you all later. Thanks for watching, and have yourselves a good night. Thank you, Lewis.
Thank you.
Addressing Gettysburg. Get out of the car. 2021. Learn together. Explore your history. Licensed battlefield guides. All ages. Welcome.
How long did tickets charge take?
That's another great question.